Welcome back into the Batify podcast. This is Travis Creasy, along with my partner in crime, Ben Hayes.
What's happening?
And we are very excited today to have a guest that we've been looking forward to talking to, Nathan Pirtle. How you doing, man?
I'm here. I'm doing good. Excited
awesome.
to be here.
That's awesome. Well, like I said, we're excited to have you, and we've got a few questions for you, and obviously we'll just go ahead and get started. And what we like to do with, and what I love about this podcast is it kind of forces me to deal with things and wrestle with things and grow in my faith through our interviews with people of things that they're having to deal with and struggle through and wrestle with. And obviously, we want to get into that. And so what I want to do right now is ask you, Nathan, to give us, as best you can, I know it's difficult, a synopsis of what's been going on with you since about August of 2019.
Yeah, so that was my official diagnosis date for the sarcoma that I have. And before that, though, I started noticing that if I started to run or try to swing, my leg forward it felt like I was dragging a weight around my ankle. And so I guess about June, the middle of June, I ended up going to the doctor just to say, hey, my hip's bothering me a little bit. And, x-rays didn't reveal anything. So I just got a steroid shot and went back to Bible camp, actually. And it's funny because you look back and you think of different ways that God protected you or took care of you. And at Bible camp, I was playing tug of war. I was running all over the camp and playing all different sports and activities. And then at the end of camp, I find out I have a tumor that had eaten out or hollowed out the inside of my hip femur. Wow. And had eaten out to the point of near fracture. And basically that was a discovery after I had gone to the ER twice because I was in so much pain. It felt like the nerves and the muscles basically in my hip had went haywire. And I tried to deal with the pain as best as I could from the first ER visit, but the meds weren't strong enough to help how much pain I was in. And so I ended up going back to the ER a second time in one day just to find out I had that tumor. And then it was about a month later when I was diagnosed with Ewing-like sarcoma.
Wow.
So
what was the reason for it being? I mean, they found the tumor that day, I guess, and then they diagnosed you later. Are they two different things? I'm a little ignorant as far as those things are concerned.
Yeah. So at the ER, the guy walks in and he just basically says, yeah, you've got a tumor on your hip femurs, and we've got your discharge papers ready for you to go whenever you decide you want to go to orthopedic center. You need to go, you need to go get all that checked out. And so, it was kind of
that's a way to introduce
it
to you.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you got a tumor in your hip, but have a great day. And so, anyways. Yeah, I mean, I was at the moment, I was kind of in a panic, trying to get into the orthopedic clinic that was there local and trying to figure out more about what was going on. And so I knew of different radiologists who could look at the scan, the images and stuff. And everybody started to basically look at my scans and tell me that it was a benign tumor based off of the features. So, I mean, I guess I went through 6 or 7 different doctors or radiologists who said this looks benign. And and so the whole time I'm thinking, okay, that's good news. This is benign. And then I was told once I got to an orthopedic oncologist, he even sat down and he said, I've got great news. This looks like a benign tumor. We're going to basically do surgery. We're going to remove the tumor. We're going to put you a bone graft in and put you a plate on your hip, and you'll be back to normal in 4 to 6 months. And so after that first surgery, I woke up and my dad and my wife were there, and I could tell, they wouldn't tell me how the surgery went. And basically what the doctor had to do, or the surgeon had to do, was back out of surgery once he saw how ugly the tumor was. And pathology couldn't determine if it was cancerous or not on the spot. And so that first surgery was basically the first I woke up, to, hey, we don't know what this tumor is. And then a week later, I go in for another, I guess you could say, biopsy, because the tumor actually was mostly dead. Huh. So he collected a lot of dead tissue, so he basically had to go back in a second time, and that to collect more for pathology. And when we arrived, he said, for that second surgery, he said that pathology is not conclusive yet, but they have said that this looks typical of Ewing sarcoma. And of course, that was the first time I'd heard that. I'd never heard of Ewing sarcoma in my life.
Yeah.
And so I went through the surgery, woke up from surgery, and then a week after that, I get the official diagnosis that this was Ewing-like sarcoma. And the reason it's called Ewing-like sarcoma is because it did not have the genetic markers of Ewing sarcoma. Mm-hmm. And so that began my journey with this sarcoma, and discovering more and more about what sarcoma is, first of all, but also learning about the difference between Ewing and Ewing-like, and the the genetic markers and all of the different things that give you a particular diagnosis, like I was given. So, anyways,
that's the amazing thing. That's an amazing thing to me, is that they can figure out how, all those things. That's way above my pay grade, and over what I'm able to. But like that, they can see the differences and know how each one of them do, and just that right there was way over my head. I can't imagine, these guys who that's all they do is deal with it. And you and Travis have way more experience with that sort of thing than I do. But just thankful for modern day medicine for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about the cell makeup that's what gives you that diagnosis, is based off of what the cells look like. And so anyways, from that diagnosis, he basically said, you stay on crutches and you don't put any weight on that right leg. And he told me if I broke the leg, then I'd have to lose my whole leg, because there would most likely, from the fracture in the bone, there would be no way to save my leg. And so he pretty much scared me and told me to not put any weight on there, but they put a little metal plate on the outside of my bone to just offer a little stability. And so from there, I basically ended up, on crutches or a wheelchair based off of the environment. And I ended up with a battle with insurance.
Really?
Yeah. So, and I mean, this is it was a crazy long process trying to get to Vanderbilt, because the place where I was diagnosed was 4 hours away. So I was traveling 4 hours just to do the surgical biopsies, and then for them to, tell me my diagnosis, but then to tell me, hey, we've got to get you, on treatment pretty quickly. And, but at the same time, I had doctors that were 3 hours away tell me that there was no way I could do the chemo regimen that is required for this diagnosis and have a 3 hour drive back and forth. So the nearest specialist was at Vanderbilt, which was 2 hours from where I was living. And basically, my insurance was not in network for my insurance, because it was cross state lines. So for the next 3 to 4 weeks, I began a battle with insurance. Yeah, it required a bunch of people to get involved. I mean, there were local doctors. There were doctors in other states. I mean, it was like the local news was about to get involved. There was just a bunch of different people who were about to get involved to try to get the care that I needed. And, the Lord sent different people to step in and make sure that was taken care of. And so I eventually started treatment at Vanderbilt. I started the middle of September. So diagnosis August 1st, but I didn't start treatment until the middle of September.
Wow.
So
that's a little different than Travis's story. You started right away, right, Travis?
Yeah. Yeah. They pretty much got me in. They were going to send me home for a night. And after they did the biopsy, they couldn't send me home because they couldn't get me to stop bleeding. But so you've talked about one surgery that you've had two, right? And
yeah, actually at this point, I just had my third surgery, so about 6 weeks ago, I had a total hip replacement. And so my right leg is now titanium, or my right femur and my hip are now titanium. And,
wow.
Yeah. So I just got done with physical therapy, just about, 30 minutes ago. I've been doing that since surgery, and I'm getting stronger every day. Getting, walking, being able to walk again, without crutches or any kind of assistance. That's, awesome. It's a tremendous blessing. So yeah, I've had 3 surgeries, and, I did, 4 rounds of chemo, that nearly killed me.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, the chemo, every treatment. So I was doing 2 hours back and forth to Vandy to do the treatment, and it would cycle every 2 weeks. So 1 week I would take a treatment on one day, and it would last all day long. And so we'd do the chemo all day long, and then we'd drive 2 hours back home, and basically I would be out of it in the seat. And then for the next week and a half, that's how long it knocked me down. I mean, like to where I couldn't even get out of the bed. And then, after I would recover from that, then I would do 5 straight days, about 7 hours each day.
Man.
And every treatment would bottom out my counts. At one time, I had 0 white blood cells in my body. Like, my counts were at 0. And I ended up in the ER several times because of what they call neutropenic. And that's whenever your counts bottom out, and then if you start running a high-grade fever, that means you've got an infection, most likely.
Well,
and
I know from watching Travis, that was a big thing on him. I mean, it's obviously it takes a toll on Travis. It takes a toll on you, but it also takes a toll on your family. I mean, that's a lot of time.
Exactly. That was one of the things, is we were traveling 2 hours back and forth to Vandy, and my wife was doing, the driving. And unfortunately, after my first treatment, we were the last ones in the infusion clinic. And, it was basically closing time, but this was my first treatment, and we didn't know what to expect,
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know what was going to happen after the treatment. And of course, they give you steroids and stuff like that through the treatment, and you feel, you're able to handle the nausea and stuff because of the meds. But my wife wheeled me out, and by the time we got to the lobby, I was going in and out of consciousness.
Oh, man.
And nobody was around.
Hmm.
We didn't have a single staff. So when the sliding doors opened up and the fan kicked on, I told her to stop me right there because it was keeping me from passing out, fully. I was feeling hot. I was feeling flush, and And I remember she said, "You can't fall out of this chair because there's no one around to help me get you back in it." And so she said we were there with nobody that came by to help for, 30, 40 minutes.
Mm.
My good.
And then once I finally, she started to give me some more medicines and stuff. And once I finally came back to, she got me in the van, and then we had to do that 2-hour drive back home. And so, yeah, you're talking about like family members and what they have to go through. My wife, man, and what she's had to go through. I mean, I passed out one time at 3 a.m. in the morning, and she had to call the ambulance. I woke up to her screaming, trying to get me to wake up. So,
wow.
The caregiver in this situation is the hero, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say that might be a podcast in the future.
Yeah.
I mean,
there you go. To highlight our caregivers and the people who have, to give them a voice. Yeah, that would be a tremendous thing, I believe, because they're awesome. They're stronger because of what they've had to go through. And I know, Travis, your wife is, she's so much stronger today, from what she's had to go through with you.
Well, I think they may need to. Maybe we need to get some T-shirts made for the Neutropenic Club, and we'll just roll around with those. Just want to take a moment as we get ready to ask the final question to our guests to encourage you, if you are in the market or looking to create your own podcast, to look at Anchor. That's what we use. As you listen, you may be thinking, if these two guys can do it, then anybody can, and that's absolutely true with Anchor. The best part is it's free. There's plenty of creation tools that allow you to record, edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can also contact and have your guests on from different locations or right there in the room with you. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. It can be on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. As we wrap up, we always kind of want to end on a little lighter note. So we got some questions for you. Number one, what is one unpopular opinion that you have, Nathan?
I was really hoping this wasn't going to be the first question. Because I have attempted to watch Star Wars, the whole saga, whatever. I've tried to watch it so many times. And so my unpopular opinion would have to be Star Wars is the most difficult to watch series of movies that I have never watched.
There you go.
And I have tried, and I'm pretty open-minded. I mean, I've watched series and I've watched movies, but yeah, if anybody's hearing this and knows me, please don't hate me.
Well, Nathan, we sure do appreciate you being with us, man. And brother, we hope to hear from you again sometime. Maybe we can have your wife on and she can give her her journey through this. But I know, we talked about the Lord and how He moves, and I absolutely believe that that my invite to exposure and us getting to meet each other was a blessing. Right. And I'm glad that we were able to work it out where you could be with us, and we hope to have you on again. And
I was just going to say that a good way to end is I had scans last month, and they were all clear. And, of course, the surgery removed the area that has had the tumor for who knows how long. And so I've had the hip replacement now. I'm up and I'm walking without crutches now. And here I am. I don't have any evidence of disease. So if there was ever any question, as the power of the Lord and His ability, I hope I'm a living, breathing miracle for everyone to see and
that's
everyone
awesome.
to see how awesome
really
God
great
is.
news.
So